Hello and welcome to Northwest Knitting. My name is Kathy and this is my knitting podcast where I talk about my knitting projects, yarns that I love, and my journey toward making more sustainable clothing for myself. I'm coming to you from the Willamette Valley in beautiful Oregon, and you can find me on Instagram and on Ravelry as Northwest Knitting. Hello, how are you doing? I hope you're all well. I appreciate very much those of you who watched me last time, and if you're new here, welcome. I hope you find something of interest. So, everything I talk about today will be in the show notes below, so just check if you want a link to a Ravelry project or a web link. And if you don't see what you're looking for, then just send a comment and I will get back to you. Okay, well, the way I usually do this is I talk about if I have any finished projects, things that I'm working on, and then I often finish up with a few book recommendations. So I hope you can make yourself comfortable and settle in, and let's see what we get up to here. So what I'm wearing today is not new to me. I think I made it a couple years ago. This is the Lento sweater by Jonna. I'll put the link, but I'm pretty sure it's the person who publishes Lina magazine. And that's where it was initially published, and in a kind of a similar color to what I used here. So I've talked about this before, but I used Loft, Brooklyn Tweed Loft, which is what is a fingering weight yarn. It's no longer being produced, unfortunately. I still have another sweaters quantity, which I'll tell you about. But this was the Almanac color, and then I held it with this yarn, which I have more of. It's Yoriko Oki's hand-dyed silk mohair, and it was just a joy to work with these colors. And this one is called Indigo Constellation, and it's just yummy, just the color, one of my favorite colors. So 70% kid mohair and 28% silk. Just so lovely. A lot of yardage. I think for this pattern, it calls for 2 fingering weights held together. It's knit up on a looser gauge, and I really enjoyed it. So the reason I'm wearing it today, I don't have a finished sweater. It's a little tiny bit warm for the day, but not too bad. And the reason I'm wearing it is I'm wanting to make an older pattern, something I've made before, and I'm looking for the ones that are most comfortable. And I have to say, this is one of my most comfortable older sweaters. And in terms of fit, I knit it to be loose like a t-shirt, like a sweatshirt. And I don't fiddle with the neck a whole lot, so I must have done something right. I'll put I forget what episode I talked about this, but I'll have my Ravelry link, and that will have the link to the episode, and if you want to see exactly what I did. So anyway, I am thinking of making something like this again. So I'm either going to make this sweater again, or another sweater that really fits me great. And this one may be even a little bit better around the neck is, this is the Calliope by Melissa Clulo. it's a free Espace Tricot pattern. And this one is circular, and then you switch to raglan. It really fits great. This is also a fingering weight woolly wool held with silk mohair, but on the gauge is not as loose as this one. So this actually uses less yarn. I find this a really great weight. The only thing I've run into with, and I've talked about this before, is I have had some trouble with my really loose gauge sweaters have started to wear a little bit here. So it's not, oh, here, yeah. So I've even thought about re-knitting the sleeves, and instead of decreasing, I've thought about reducing the size of the needle to make it tighter and tighter. So that's something I'm going to try next time I make a loose gauge sweater. So if I make this one, then I will do that, and I'll let you know how it works. But anyway, what I'm thinking, the color way I'm thinking is I have some more Loft, and this one is the Old World colorway, and the Brooklyn Tweed. This was all sourced in the and spun and dyed in the United States, and fingering weight yarn, woolen spun, and I forget. Oh, American Targhee Columbia wool. Very woolly. The colors they had on Loft were just fantastic. And then hold it with the remainder of this. So it'll be a little bit of a darker version of this one. And as a result, that's kind of making me lean towards the Lento, because this has a nice rib here at the top, which you really won't see in the darker color. So we'll see what happens, but something along those lines. I've also thought about doing another Felix, but I think the Calliope and the Lento have fit nicer up here without me. Or I picked the right size, who knows? But anyway, feeling really good. It would be very satisfying to use those yarns together. When I've traveled with this pattern, with this particular sweater, I have really enjoyed it, and I've wanted to pull it out all the time. It was really great having this lighter weight but warm mohair wool blend, and under a raincoat was really excellent. Okay, well, that was an aside going down memory lane. What I've been working on lately I've made a number of gift items. One has been delivered. So I showed you last time I was working on my son's Salt and Pip beret in black, and that has been delivered, and it fits and was well received. The only thing I have to say about that is that working with black yarn is just as horrible as everybody says. And I really had a hard time with it, especially doing the fold over brim. Wow. I was doing a 3 needle bind off with that black wool, and it was so challenging. But anyway, it's done. It turned out great and has been delivered. The other thing, let's see here. I've just been all over the map here. I have a granddaughter who had a birthday yesterday, and her party is this weekend, so we'll be joining for the party. And I made some little socks for her out of a medley of different yarns. I think most of these were candy skein, which I don't think is open anymore. Isn't that sad? These yarns that we love are not always around forever. So these were all candy skein. And then I got a bunch of minis recently, and I can't even, oh shoot, I don't know what they are, but it was really fun. And I did the sock exploration. Earth Tone Girls followed her tutorial for the heel, and now I've done that a couple times, and I feel like I could memorize that one pretty soon. So I have a very hard time making socks fit perfectly. I mean, fit, not the foot, which is another issue, but stay the same size. But I think it's not too far off here. So those were fun. And I have a bag of even more little minis, and so I'd like to make more, maybe, you know, just throw on some for myself. That would be fun. So you see my cute little bag. I think I've showed it to you before. There's a woman at our Saturday market in Eugene who sells these bags, and I really cannot be allowed to go near her because I always buy one, but I got another one. Our family was visiting and we went to the market, and it was just really fun to go with a group of people to our farmers market and then to the Saturday craft market. So here's the bottom of the bag. And if anybody ever finds a pattern for this, you probably should tell me, although I really do like getting them from her. And I found out recently, I washed one. One of them I use as my toiletries bag, and I washed it recently because, you know, it's cotton and it's all quilting fabric, but you can turn it inside out. So that is really, and she uses very nice, fun fabrics, and I probably have some of these somewhere in my fat quarters stash, mostly unused fat quarters stash. But so that was fun. Okay, another project I'm making for my granddaughter. We were at another little Saturday market, this one in Silverton, about months ago, and my granddaughter, who's having the birthday, was there, and there was a woman selling yarn from her farm. I think a lot of it is alpaca, and she had a little basket with maybe 10 skeins of yarn, all hand dyed. And so I asked my granddaughter, I kept holding up different skeins, this one, that one. Finally, I held one up, and it was pink and blue. And so my daughter just told me a couple days ago that my granddaughter reported that her grandmother was making her a hat. And I thought, I better make a hat. So this is, I'm going to have to rip it out and get more, I might make it just a tiny bit bigger on the top, but because the length from here to the top of the ear, is an area where I notice in the family maybe too many brains and you have to go up a little higher. But anyway, so cute. This is the barley hat, but I didn't make the garter stitch rib. Barley hat is a free pattern on Tin Can Knits. I've made many of them, and I often just like get the cast on number and go with it. And but you can see what the color pooling on this hand dyed yarn, really fun. And I think I cast it on yesterday, and I'll just finish this up very soon. So that's been nice. And then the other thing, I can't believe this. I went down a different road, I don't even know what craft, but because of the birthday, somehow, you know how if you're on Instagram, all kinds of things pop up. And one of them was a birthday crown, somebody making a birthday crown. And I know Waldorf does this a lot, but if you're on Instagram and you just type in, just search for birthday crown, you will get these felt crowns. And so then I had to think, now where do I get felt? With Joanne's gone, but we have a local store that sells buttons and women's clothes and a lot of embroidery supplies. It's called Mindy's, and needlepoint designs. And she also had some squares of 100% wool felt. And so I bought this. I lined it with a thinner, this is a very thick wool right here. And then I lined it with these, and these are all thinner, more traditional squares of felt. And so I embroidered it. Now it would be really fun. So it goes around her head like this. What do you think? So cute. It was absolutely so fun to do. And I was looking at somebody else's efforts. There's some people on Instagram who really do a lot of these. And I did a blanket stitch like she did around the edge. So it's a little bit of a embroidering exercise. Now the question is, oh, I notice my ties are a little off, but question is, can I give this to a 3-year-old and have it be a joyful experience, or will it slide down her head and make her miserable, or what? You just never know with kids, you know. But when you hand things over, hand over any expectations, just give it without feeling bad as to what might happen. But anyway, I made it pretty sturdy, so it should last a while, and it could be fun to even put on somebody's wall. I just happen to have this ribbon, you know, that I saved off a package. The ones that I loved had all kinds of little animals, or if the child were interested in pirates or the sea or sailing or anything, you could do little designs. But I found that when I came down to it, I did this just kind of in a day, and I didn't have time to do templates, but one could buy little cut out pieces of felt and do this, you know, or you could do it with the child themselves. So anyway, wow, veering off, but I have to say this was intensely fun. And the more embroidering I did, the more I wanted to do. So that was really a little step off the knitting path, and I really did enjoy that. So I have all kinds of baskets filled with things that are, I don't even call them, I call them whips, but they're not, they're just resting. I don't know. Some of them I may not continue. I have ripped out, I've had 2 sweater projects I meant to do this summer, both cardigans, and they just haven't been working the way I expected. So I am gonna, there's one of them I frogged, and the other one I might go back to and see if I can figure out what's happening. But in the meantime, I had shown you this design by Kate Davies called the Tonnach cardigan, and she did a knit along this summer with this pattern. And I'm the world's worst knit along person, so I think I signed up for it, but I haven't done anything, and it's probably over by now. But I showed you my initial swatch, which I think I have here somewhere. Well, maybe not. I had a swatch and I had a plan and it just, oh, here we go. So this was my initial swatch. I had a heck of a time with figuring out gauge, but this was my initial swatch and it was summer and I wanted to make a lighter colored pattern. I wasn't so sure about this pinky color. It's a really nice color, but I think it just wasn't looking that great with the other colors. Anyway, I have now gone off on a different road. I am using a lot of the same colors as before, but not the pink. And here's the, this feels more like me. And my gauge is so far off. I'm doing size 2 and she has really small sizes. I mean, she goes, her size options go very far to the small direction as much to the big. So I should not wear a small, but this is to accommodate the change in my gauge is a lot looser than it is supposed to be. But I really am feeling pretty happy with this. This looks like me, a little tiny bit of a throwback to Catholic school uniform. But my main color, so I also signed up for, but now will not do, the woolly thistle sweater Cal, which is always fun to watch and see. They often post a bundle, but here I am. The reason I don't think that I can do it is that I might have had enough woolly thistle yarn, but now the colors I ultimately landed on are not, I don't think I bought enough from them. So they want like 80% woolly thistle yarn. This is my main color. It is a cone, a Jamieson and Smith 2-ply cone that I bought. This is the end of the cone. I might actually use almost all of the cone. I used it for my Alpine Bloom sweater as the main color, and the main color for this one, which you can see uses a lot of other color. And I might have a few of these other skeins that I got 1 or 2 out of, but I don't know that it's enough. But anyway, it's bottom up. It's a fingering weight yarn. Kate Davies uses her Malarochy Tweed. I think that's it. So let me show you, just to remind you again what my colors are, because I've gone in a different direction. But I'm using these 3 or these 4 with the navy. So arguably these don't contrast enough, and the pattern expects you to have more contrast between this lighter blue and the darker blue, but I love how it looks almost faded there, so I'm real happy with the colors. Now, bottom up. Technically, yes, you can try it on. So this is, you have to, I think this might be a little bit on the big side. And I am not quite sure what to do, because let me just show you. So it is a drop shoulder, and it's going to go, so it's going up, 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 and then up to here. But the thing is, when you go up to here, it'll be straight up and then part of the body will be the sleeve. And so the last time I did a sweater like this was my Pressed Flowers cardigan, and I meant to make the sweater longer, but I thought that I didn't realize that this was actually part of the arm, and consequently it made the sweater come up higher. So I don't know. I'm a little concerned about fit for this, just because, yes, I can try it on, and it's a cardigan, and I have it on a really long stranded needle, so I can put it around me, and I can see, yeah, it does fit, especially lower in the hips. But as I get close up to here, and I'm much smaller here, then I am wondering how that's, if I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that it'll be okay, because it's a drop shoulder thing. Let me show you the pattern on this though. Initially she had some kind of earthy tones for hers. I wasn't crazy about the colors for myself, but it's an awfully cute pattern. And there's Kate herself, wonderful designer. And then recently for this cow, she did it in much brighter colors. And in a perfect world, oh, it popped right up on my iPad. Oop. Can you, oh, I'm really struggling. Maybe over here. Yeah, there we go. So you can see she used much brighter colors there. And here's a nice one. Really an amazing stash buster of a sweater if you're looking to use up some yarn. And I have not even touched my Jamieson and Smith. So lots of knitting to do. I wish I could use this yarn for the kids, the little kids, but I can't. So Jamieson and Smith, 2-ply, pretty scratchy. Oh, but actually, I should rephrase that. My navy blue is Jamieson and Smith 2-ply, but some of these skeins are the Spindrift, Jamieson Spindrift. And I got these like half price at some point. That's almost all of the contrast colors I got, just like really reduced, and my goal is to use them up. So anyway, I'm just so happy. It looks so great on camera. Anyway, that has been very fun pattern to work on. It's a I don't know if what she calls it, but it's sort of a, it's sort of like a feather and fan or shell or something, and it's just very enjoyable. You memorize the lace just very, very quickly. It's purling on the back side. It's just super, super easy. So I've really enjoyed that. Okay, so of future projects, I was telling you that I'm thinking of making this one. I showed you my loft and my mohair for possibility of this sweater, but I got a gift certificate to the Woolly Thistle for Mother's Day, and I I had the delightful problem of picking out some yarn, and I really wanted to use something. It was $50. I was hoping to use something instead of just like a little here or a little there. I will, am I stopping? No, I'm okay. I got a weird message here on the camera. Anyway, I wanted to pick something that maybe so it wasn't enough for a sweater, but maybe enough to make a project work. So I've had for a long time, now see, I could have done this for the woolly thistle make along. I have some lichen and lace. The color is that's pretty accurate, I think. It's lichen and lace, rustic heather sport, and it is the frost colorway, and it's 100% Canadian wool. And I have used this for my pressed flowers cardigan in the cold colorway. So if you remember my pressed flowers, that was this one. So this one it's a tonal. There is quite a bit of variation in the color. I mean, you can see it gets a little darker in some places. And so I thought, wouldn't it be fun to, I already had this enough for a sweater, but what if I got some complementary colors to make a colorwork sweater. And so here's what I got. I got these. So here's my main color here, and then here are my complementary colors, which happen to be colors that I like a lot. One of them here, this is Plum Jam. It turned out a little bit darker in real life. I expected it to be the color you're seeing here on the camera, but it's a little darker than that in real life, at least here in my studio. This one is called Lake. And this is the Teal Tide, very bright. I think it'll be okay mixed with the others, I think. It's not as bright as what you're seeing. And then this one was not the color I expected, but I think it will work out. It's Rosewood. And this one is actually, to me, looking more browny than I expected, but yeah. So anyway, what I was thinking of doing was making another Lunenburg sweater by Amy Christophers of Savory Knitting, and I made one of these. This is my Lunenburg. I think I wore this maybe for my very first podcast. I think so. I love this. I thought the color work, at the time I made this, I did not have a lot of experience in color work. I don't even know what that means, actually. I mean, if you just knit enough sweaters, so I've done quite a bit of color work. I wouldn't call myself a world-class expert by any means, but this one I thought was pretty easy. You don't have long floats anywhere. You do have quite a bit of purling, and I loved it. I don't mind purling particularly. So you can see these little pops here. It was hard to figure out from the pattern as I was choosing colors which were gonna, if it was the purl itself that popped or if it was the next. No, it's the pearl itself that's popping, but it was interesting. So you can see if I use this color for my main color, then all these darker colors will come in. I might have to add a lighter color, but so you can see that the main color here comes through a little bit down here and up here. So these would all be lighter. It'll look very different. It'll be more of a reverse. And, you know, it depends on how much. You do have another yarn in here, but it doesn't pop out that much. You can see in this gray. So it depends on what those colors are that I choose. Anyway, it was a very, very enjoyable color work. I really liked it. And the only reason I did find that it was a little bit bigger around the neck because it was such a warm sweater. I wanted it to have a little bit higher neck. So I think what I do this time, but if you look at the pattern, many people are wearing the Lunenburg and it looks great around the neck. It was just, I get so chilly that I thought maybe I need something different. So I knit it the way she said to. I started with this rib. So here's the initial rib right down here. And I just picked up and purled, which allows you to add, if you purl, you can't like continue the rib. You can't pick up, after you finish the sweater, you can't pick up the neck here and keep doing the rib. You just can't do it. It looks weird. But you can do a purl stitch, couple purl rows in there. It breaks it up and it almost looks intentional. The only thing is, if I were to do such a thing again, I would have to do short rows in the rib, and I should have done short rows on my little addition here. So I think what I'll do, assuming I knit this sweater, is I will, instead of doing the rib, I will just start knitting the sweater, and I'll go back and add the neck ribbing later, and maybe I'll figure out something that makes it come up just a little bit higher. Also, this yarn is super soft. Everything I used here, this is like a wool alpaca blend I got somewhere. I didn't do any research. I just picked it up. I bought all this way before I thought much about the yarn, frankly. I just picked it up. It was reasonably priced, which when I first got started was a big factor for me. And then these are all, I have some different yarns in here. I can't even remember, but I'll put the link to my Ravelry page if you want to find out exactly what I used. I just used all kinds of things. I might have even used, you know, some bits of alpaca. I just added in all kinds of things because cost saving. I don't know why I was feeling so frugal. Now I feel much less frugal, but I still like to use up my scraps. So anyway, I think this would be fun to knit again. And you know the story of how I met someone in Ireland, in the Aran Islands, in a sheer, walking along wearing a Lunenburg sweater. Of course, I had to accost her very nicely and say, did you knit your sweater? Is it the Lunenburg by any chance? Or maybe it's Lunenburg. It is a place in Nova Scotia, I think, and the woman was from Nova Scotia. Okay, that's a long aside and a repeat. But okay, I think those are the main things. I just wanted to show you one, before I get to the books, let me just show you one thing. For my birthday was in August, and I bought myself this book, and it's almost worth it just for the cover of this book. It's so good. The Wonder of Wool, A Knitter's Guide to Pure Breed Sheep by Justine Lee and Jess Morency. And what it is they focus on, they do have a history of sheep in here, and then they focus on a number of particular breeds, and they have a page on each one. So in some ways, I do have the Flock and Fiber source book, and I feel it's different. The pictures in this are spectacular. Breed directory, you know. So they go through all these breeds, and I think they're really British breeds, of course. Just a lot of, it's not, Flock and Fiber is more of a, I'm sure it doesn't have every breed, but it has definitely many more breeds. But each one, they'll talk. Now, I was very interested. Let me switch to, so they have like a swatch showing the yarn knit up. And I was very interested in Wensleydale because I have some 100% Wensleydale yarn. And so a picture for Wensleydale. So it gives you, they have a picture of the sheep. They tell about the history. And then they have tips for spinners and knitters. And I think a spinner might find the book a little bit more useful than the knitters, but still, it says, when spun by hand, it has a lovely, irregular, bobbly appearance. Needs to be worsted spun. And sometimes, you know, they'll say like, I don't feel like it was very detailed in terms of what a knitter might be looking for. I mean, I have heard Wensleydale has a lot of drape, so I know that. But anyway, it is a lovely book, though. And to my surprise, I thought, I would say a third of the book is the information about the breeds, and the rest of the book is patterns. And so there's a number of patterns here. I'm not going to show you every one, but there's a Wensleydale sheep. And then there's a picture of a sweater in Wensleydale. I'll show you some. Okay, now the one I was most interested in knitting was this little vest here. And it is called the Cola Gilet, and it's in, let's see, there's another little picture here. I really like that one cable down there. Here's Border Leicester. Look at that handsome. I have to say the pictures are really spectacular. Some of the patterns, I definitely, you know, I feel like this almost anytime I'm looking at a new book, knitting pattern book, and, you know, maybe I see, I don't often go through a book and say, oh, I want to knit every one, but I really like that one. And I would say most of them are bottom up. but some of these are, here's the Jacob. Just very pretty book, definitely a coffee table book. Here's a big cozy, they call it the Simo sweater in Romney wool. And it's a big cozy oversized sweater. Makes you want to cast that on right away. But I think almost all of these are going to be bottom up. And I think the vest that I'm so interested in is pieced. But my friend Brittany tells me I can do this. So I think that's it. Special techniques in the back. But it is a lovely book. I got this at Woolly Thistle as a summer birthday treat for myself. So nice. Okay, so let me see. I have a few books I want. Actually, I have quite a few books to tell you about, and I'm trying to pace myself because I went through a period where I didn't have very many, and all of a sudden I have quite a few. So the ones I'm going to mention right now, The Glassmaker by Tracy Chevalier. Tracy Chevalier does a lot of books where she focuses on some piece of art or a craft, and writes a whole novel about it. And this one is about the glassmakers in Murano, and she's always focusing on a woman maker. And it's very unusual in that she covers centuries, but she follows the same people. So she has the same characters. So instead of redoing the characters all the time, every time time passes, she doesn't age them, basically. She ages them just a little bit. And it's really clever. I've never seen anybody do that. But I found that a very enjoyable book. And years ago, I got to go to Murano and see the glass making. And so that was fun to read. There's a newish book, not brand new, but paperback, called Go as a River by Shelley Reed. I really thought this was a beautifully written book, and it's about focuses on a woman, our main characters, this young woman growing up in a family without her mom and in a small town, and a young man comes to town. He's not appreciated or welcomed by anyone else in the town, and it's just sort of what happens when she and he connect, and what her life is. And I really enjoyed that book. Really, the writing I just thought was great. She really captures a place. Another one I really liked, this one was just the opposite, with not much description of place. It was a plot-oriented book all the way. It's called So Far Gone by Jess Walters. And the first book of his that I read was Beautiful Ruin. That took place mostly in Italy, but also in Hollywood as well. And I remember that Richard Burton, the actor, and Elizabeth Taylor are minor characters in that book. But I liked So Far Gone a lot. It was almost a thriller at times, and it's hard to describe, but it's about a grandfather who hasn't seen his grandkids until they appear. He hasn't seen much of his grandkids until they appear on his doorstep. And what happens next, and where's his where's their mother, his daughter, and so forth. And I think it all takes place, Jess Walters is from Spokane, and it all takes place around that area. So those are the three. I've also read, I read another one, but I'm not really prepared to, I've read several others. But for some reason, after not reading that many great books, I suddenly had a whole bunch together. So I'll have more next time. So I've gone for almost an hour. I have enjoyed doing this so much. I hope you are doing well. We are having some tough times here in the world. We're hearing about the tariffs. There's just all kinds of clampdowns on speech. There's just a lot of stuff happening. But our little community is chugging along, having so much beauty. And I'm getting a lot of comfort from my knitting, and I hope you are too. So, and the other thing I realize is that not everybody watches my videos the moment they come out. Sometimes people are watching them months and months later. Sometimes people go back to the old ones. And so whatever time you're in when you watch this, I hope it's good. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please do tell me what you're knitting, what you're working on, or if you've had any side crafts you've been working on as I have. I'd love to hear what's inspiring you. So take care and happy knitting.